Welcome back to Clearly Ambiguous. Today, we need to talk about a very specific medical condition. It's sweeping across elite campuses, media panels, and coffee shops charging $9 for an oat milk latte. It is called the vanguard syndrome. Symptoms include an unshakable belief that capitalism is on the brink of collapse, a deep emotional connection to the word praxis, and an absolute conviction that when the glorious workers' revolution finally comes, you will be selected to head the department of revolutionary poetry while someone else digs the ditches. Now, if you ask a modern liberal or a progressive activist if they are Marxist, they will indignantly tell you, of course not. We just want universal healthcare, green subsidies, and equity. And on paper, it looks fair enough. Wanting better safety nets isn't Marxism, it's social democracy. But then you open Twitter or whatever hell site we are using this year, or you attend a panel at Columbia, or you read a column on global economy, and suddenly the vocabulary gets suspiciously specific. You hear about the oppressor class, structural revolution, primitive accumulation, dismantling the bourgeois apparatus. It turns out there is a massive chunk of our intellectual class that has spent the last 30 years playing political cosplay. They want the aesthetics of 1917 Petrograd, but with reliable Wi-Fi and high-speed rail. They want to tear down the free market economy, but they fully expect the artisanal bakery downstairs to remain open under new socially conscious management. Today, we are asking the uncomfortable question. Why do people who benefited the most from free market capitalism hate it so much? And what do they think is actually going to happen if they get their wish? Now, let's start with how we got here. For decades, the classical liberal deal was simple. Equality of opportunity. You set up a level playing field, you enforce the rules fairly, you get rid of legal discrimination, and then maybe the best idea, the hardest worker, or the luckiest entrepreneur wins. Some people make millions, some open a bakery, some just want a 9 to 5 so they can go fishing on weekends. It is messy, but it works. Then came the pivot. Over the last decade, opportunity got quietly swapped for a shiny new word, equity. Now, on the surface, equity sounds nice and warm. It sounds like fairness. But as a very famous political figure once helpfully explained, equity means we all end up in the same place. Now, hold on to that sentence for about 3 seconds, right? If 10 people start a race and the government's official job is to make sure that all 10 people cross the finish line at exactly the same millisecond, how do you achieve that? Do you train the slow runners? Sure, a little bit. But mostly you have to trip the fast ones. You have to tackle the sprinter to the grass and hold them down until the guy who spent training week eating gas station hot dogs catches up. This isn't equality. This is economic central planning, wearing a human rights badge. When you demand that outcomes must be identical, you are no longer operating in a free market liberal democracy. You have crossed the river into state engineering. Because the only force on earth capable of forcing millions of unique, unpredictable human beings to end up in the same place is a government. Of course, with a massive clipboard, an army of regulators, and heavy pair of boots. And who gets to hold the clipboard? That brings us to our favorite group of people, the intellectuals. There is a long, glorious tradition of radical theories being born not on the factory floor, but in academic lounges. Look at the history. Karl Marx didn't work in a factory. He spent his life in the British Museum reading room, living off money sent to him by Frederick Engels, whose dad owned textile factories. Marxism was literally funded by capitalist industrial fortunes from day one, and today nothing has changed. Go to any major city, from London to New York to New Delhi, you will find a thriving industry of public commentators, professors, and columnists who make six-figure salaries explaining why the system that pays their salary must be burned to the ground. You see scholars like Mahmoud Mamdani or David Harvey or international pundits explaining that every problem in your life, from your rent price to your broken air conditioner, is a result of neoliberal extraction and commodity fetishism. Now, why does this rhetoric appeal so deeply to the educated elite? The economist Thomas Sowell, who, funny enough, started his career as a Marxist, explained this perfectly. In pure free market system, your economic value isn't decided by how many books you have read or how sophisticated your vocabulary is. It is decided by consumer demand. A guy who runs a plumbing company, drives a pickup truck, and works 60 hours a week might make $200,000 a year. Meanwhile, a guy with a doctorate in 17th century literature might make $50,000 as an adjunct professor. To the academic, this isn't just an economic reality, it is an insult. It is a cosmic injustice. How can the plumber make more than the person who understands Foucault? Foucault, yes. Enter Marxism. Marxism whispers to the intellectual, you are not overeducated and underskilled. You are a visionary trapped in a vulgar capitalist machine. Under our system, market demand won't decide who gets resources. The state will. And who will run the state? Wise, educated people like you. It is the ultimate ego trip. It promises the snob that under the new order, their snobbery won't just be tolerated, it will be the law of the land. They envision a post-capitalist utopia where they spend their afternoons writing essays about collective farming while sitting in a sunlit cafe sipping champagne and discussing ethics of the new regime. But there is just one tiny historical problem with this champagne socialist fantasy. It has 100% failure rate. For the intellectuals, of course. History has a hilarious dark sense of humor. Every single time a radical state-controlled revolution actually succeeds, the very first group of people the new government round up not the CEOs, it is the intellectuals who helped start the revolution in the first place. When Bolsheviks took over Russia in 1917, the poets, the artists, the theorists were thrilled. They threw parties, they made avant-garde posters. Fast forward 10 years, and Joseph Stalin looked at the same artists and said, wait, what do you mean these guys do nothing but critique governments for a living? Put them on a train and send them to Siberia. Look at China. During the Cultural Revolution, Mao didn't say, thank you, professors, for writing those lovely essays about class struggle. He closed the universities, forced the academics to wear dunce caps, and sent them to dig ditches in rural provinces so they could learn from the peasants. Now let's look at Cambodia. Under Pol Pot, the regime was so terrified of snobbish intellectuals that they literally executed people for wearing glasses, because having bad eyesight meant you probably read too many books. The tragedy of the champagne Marxist is that they build a cage, design the lock, hype up the key, and then act surprised when the tiger is there in the first place. They genuinely believe that a totalitarian state built on state control will respect their tenure, their Substack newsletter, or freedom of speech. They don't realize that in a world where the government owns everything, critique isn't activism anymore. It is high treason. So where does this leave us today? Are modern liberals secretly planning a Soviet takeover? No, of course not. Most of them just want better roads, cheaper healthcare, and nicer park benches. But when you let your political movement be driven by people who view the world strictly through the lens of oppressor versus oppressed, when you swap equal opportunity for mandated equal outcomes, and when you treat the free market like a disease rather than the engine that pulled 3 billion people out of poverty, you're playing with fire. The free market isn't perfect. It is chaotic, it's noisy, and it produces wealth gaps that need smart, sensible regulation to keep clean. But it has one massive advantage over state-planned utopias. It lets you choose your own life. If you want to spend your life writing poetry in a free market, you can. You just might have to get a roommate, of course. But in fully state-planned Marxist paradise, the state decides if poetry is useful to the 5-year industrial plan. And if it isn't, hope you like manufacturing concrete blocks. To all our champagne vanguard friends out there, sipping your craft brews and tweeting about the downfall of capitalism, enjoy your latte, tip your barista, and maybe, just maybe, be careful what you wish for. Because if the revolution actually comes, you won't be writing the manifesto. You will be assigned to the night shift. So that is all for today's episode of Clearly Ambiguous. Let me know in the comments below, is modern progressive policy just well-meaning social reform, or are we slowly marching down the road to central control? Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon, because under our current system, consumer demand still rules. So see you next week, and thank you for watching.